close. We're pleased to welcome now Cindy Tucker, Executive Director of Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Cindy, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for being here.
We're pleased to be here. So we've had some great discussions already with the Attorney General, Assistant DA, also Angel Faison from the Mississippi State. So it's been a fantastic day so far. Tell us what's going on here at Sally Kate Winters these days. We read also for the audience the statistics, the number of folks served and other activities that you guys are involved in. It's just amazing.
Well, thank you. We have lots of wonderful things here happening at Sally Kate Winters Family Services. Of course, kicking off our April for Child Prevention Month. So, just a day-to-day of just helping our community, servicing the kids in our shelter and our other programs as well.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier as well about how can we combat this problem to just minimize or reduce the number of cases that we have.
Ooh, I wish there was a answer for that, right? There's no magic answer to it. I think we, at Sally Kate, we just try to come in and help where there's a void, helping the youth through those transition, providing services through our Child Advocacy Center with interviews and other services as counseling and case management, and of course being that stability for them while they're going through a transition.
Tell us about your staff. How many folks do you have, and what sort of roles do they work?
We have 27 full-time and 2 part-time staff on our staff, and so our emergency shelter, our intake assessment center program. Of course, we have direct care staff that are assisting the youth that come into that program 24 hours, 7 days a week. We have our transitional housing program that also provides services for the youth who live there, whether it's life skill coach, our case management, and direct care staff as well who oversight the program. And then, of course, our Child Advocacy Center with our forensic interviewers, our intake, our victim advocates, and counselor as well.
About your board. Tell us about your board.
Our board consists of 16 members that volunteer their time to oversight our day-to-day operations for Sally Kate.
And they provide just governance as well to the organization?
Strategic planning, sure. Board fundraising, and development as well.
Talk to us about that. Where do you get your funds?
Our funding is varies, right? So, of course, we have funding from federal grants as well, local and state grants, and then, of course, private donations.
SuperTalk 25 to 91999 is how you can donate to Sally Kate Winters Family Services. And so, according to the notes I have, you served, had cases that came from 30 counties.
Yes,
is that right?
We serve, of course, our 5 local counties surrounding Clay County, Golden Triangle area, but all of state of Mississippi.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Are you staffed at the appropriate level, do you think, or are you looking for some additional people?
We are right now, but we're, as you know, most companies, agencies, or whatever, you're going to have some transitions
sure.
In positions, but right now we are currently fully staffed.
I see. And how long has this organization been in place?
Sally Kate is going on 35 years now, since 1990.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What would it be like if there were not a Sally Kate Winters? What options would these children have?
That would be hard to imagine, but I think that because of the type of programs and services that we provide, I think you would definitely see a gap, right? So as kids are coming into our programs, we're providing that counseling, we're providing that stability so that to help them kind of have some stability while they're trying to figure out, or why CPS is trying to figure out, depends on which program they're coming into. So we provide the support, we're providing life skills, we're providing just a place for them to kind of rest until the adults who are handling their cases help them through their transition.
What's the goal?
The goal is the mission for us is to just have that stability, provide that support for the kids, whether it's housing, like I mentioned, counseling, case management, and of course our Child Advocacy Center for the MDT team as well. Just being there, being that support for them, being that void.
Success stories. Can you tell us about a couple of those?
Oh, man. And you're going to hear some of those throughout the day, of course, with all our case managers and program directors. But, one story that just kind of stands out to me is when I initially, I've been here for going into my second year. So one of the stories that just kind of stand out for me is when we had a young man who had he was still in high school and he graduated from our program, and with that we provided the help that he needed to just kind of give him the stability so he could focus on his schooling. And we've had there's stories of youth who just had a place where they can talk to someone to hear them, right? We've had stories of just someone who kids who you can see come in just a change over the time periods that they've stayed with us. So there's a lot of stories, and I think we can just be proud of the things that we've done here at Sally Kate Winters. But one of the things that is just when you see a young kid or youth come in and they're knowing the history and whatever the trauma that they've experienced, and when they walk out that door and they just say thank you to our direct care staff, our counselors, our case manager, that's when you've done what you're set out to do. And
many will actually stay in touch even
many
after,
do.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
many do.
I think I've interviewed a couple in the past that have gone on and are thriving as a result of the experience they had here.
And they'll call back and tell us, give us an update as to how they're doing. So those are always wonderful.
It's got to be gratifying for the team, huh?
It is. It is.
I mean, is that why you do it? Because I know you can't get rich doing this. So.
No. There's no. You can't get rich doing it, but I think it's the satisfying, gratifying. Yeah. The purpose. Mm-hmm.
How hard is it though to deal with some of these cases? Just to see how that perhaps has devastated a youngster.
I think when we're sitting in a staff meeting and we're reviewing some of the cases that are either the youth are here or some of our newer referrals, it is heartbreaking when you think about someone who's 10 or 14 or 15 and some of the stories or some of the things that they've been through, whether it is neglect or some form of abuse. It's heartbreaking because they're young and you sit back and you're like, oh my goodness, it just gives you chills when you really think about it. But at the same time, we know we have a job to do and try to make sure we stay focused, give them the best that we can while they're here in our service.
Well, children are conditioned to trust adults. Mm-hmm. And when the adults break that trust, that's kind of where it all starts, does it not?
It does. It does. And, when you think about what you just said, just thinking about, I always say as an adults, we're teachers. We're teachers. We're supposed to lead and show by example. But sometimes I know some parents fall on hard times or whatever.
Sure.
So, but I think as the mission for us is to make sure we can show them that this is not the way it has to be, or this is, there are people out there who really do care and really do want to help.
How do you receive them? How do they get in touch and become part of Sally Kate Winters services? For our emergency shelter, our intake assessment center program, those referrals come from CPS, and gotcha. For our transitional housing, again, it just varies whether it's coming from community or other organizations or churches or from schools as well. Gotcha. And then do you ever have situations where, Cindy, you have to get law enforcement involved? We do. We do have situations where law enforcement has to get involved, but a lot of times it's more so, it's not so much more, if there's
some behavioral that we cannot handle. A lot of times it's really just to kind of, hey, we have a situation here where we're just asking for someone to come in, where you may have a youth who's like, I don't know about this, so they may, I'm gonna leave. Like, wait a minute, so we may have to call law enforcement for backup for that, reinforcement for that. But otherwise, not so much for our shelter. Is more of a support that we get from our law enforcement.
Cindy Tucker, Executive Director of Sally Kate Winters Family Services, has been our guest. Thanks for coming on, Cindy. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're stepping aside for a break right now, folks. We've relocated the Element Wealth Studio to West Point, Mississippi. It's Sally Kate Winters Family Services. We're coming right back.